Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, before we go ahead and hop into this commentary, just want to let you guys know a couple of things before we start. First off, this gameplay that you're seeing is very old. Actually, a lot of the gameplays that I've been posting on this channel have just been a mix of all of my gameplays that I've gotten from the beginning of this game to where I am right now. So a lot of the people who think I'm very cheesy or I use the 7.25 shotgun too much, just know that in my regular commentary videos, not my live comm videos, but my commentary videos like you're watching right now, I use all of my clips. I have a massive clip folder from all the clips I got from the beginning of when this game dropped to this very day right now. So I use a mix of all my clips. I don't want my clip folder to go to waste by throwing all those clips out, so eventually I do use them. So just know and keep in mind when you're watching the gameplay that when I do use the 7.25 sometimes in these clips, or I use any other cheesy weapon, they're probably old clips here. You can probably check the scoreboard whenever I flash it up every once in a while to see the level that I am. And also, the second thing I want to run past you guys before we hop into the commentary is Happy Thanksgiving. Yes, it is one of my favorite holidays, not my most favorite. I think my most favorite would have to be Christmas, just because it's such a chill time of year for me. And as you guys know, I'm a very chill person, so I like chill times. Thanksgiving isn't really too chill, but my family, the way that we do things, where all of us are laid back. My whole family is just like me, so it's very easy to do things on Thanksgiving as well. But I hope you all have a fantastic day. Stay safe, but still at the same time have an absolute blast with all your families and friends. Please don't hold back or anything like that. Just remember, don't drink and drive. Don't do anything stupid. Don't get hurt. Just be responsible while you're having a blast. But today I thought, what could possibly be better than chowing down on some turkey, maybe some stuffing, and then at the end of all that beautiful feasting, getting to have a official JbowenDaMan rant. Like, come on now, what could possibly be better? Oh, goodness gracious. But today we're going to be talking a little bit about some noobs. Now, there was a tweet that came out, I think March. It was March of this year. And usually, I don't usually see things like this, but I think someone else liked it on my, one of my followers liked it or something like that, so it did come up on my feed. Sadly, I didn't like it, I didn't retweet or anything like that, so I can't post it up here or look back to it as a reference, but I do remember him talking about the noobs and how they just can't be saved, and how developers will go out of their personal way to handcraft their video games around a specific agenda that could possibly, potentially, destroy their title just for the sake of making sure the new players have a much better experience than a lot of the veteran players. Now, from just saying that, you guys probably can already tell that it was a lot of fighting going on in that tweet, and a lot of mixed emotions going along with people as well for that specific topic. But today I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into this and discuss it a little bit with you guys, because I thought it was pretty interesting, and honestly, I agree. There's no exact way to protect the noobs. Noobs will be noobs, and what made it so fun back in the day for me personally is that being a noob was frustrating, but it was always that urge, it was always that, how can I put it, I just wanted to improve. When someone kicked my butt, when someone did better than me, when someone had a better positioning than me, when someone had better accuracy than me, I always looked at that and I said, well, he killed me that way. Maybe I should imitate those types of moves. I should imitate that weapon class setup. I should imitate the perks this man is using. I should imitate where he's positioning himself on the map. I always had those things in the back of my mind when I got killed by a much better experienced player. But nowadays, things like that don't happen. It almost seems like this game is catered more towards the new players, so they have a more enjoyable experience. Now, let me use my friend as a reference. He's probably going to completely hate me for bringing this up, but my friend is a perfect example of what I'm trying to discuss here. Now, in a typical game of Search and Destroy, how do you play Search? When you're attacking, you have to plant the bomb, and when you're defending, you have to defend the bomb. Or you can go ahead and kill everybody on the opposing team, but more than half the time, you're going to have to play one of the objectives. My friend doesn't move. He stays in the spawn every time he spawns in. Let's say we're on the cave map. You know that there's 2 houses by each spawn. He literally runs into each of those houses every time he spawns, and he doesn't play. And this is, I'm going to say this now, this is one of his most favorite Call of Duty games ever made. And then we go into a ground war game, and this guy is perfectly content, sorry, I can't speak, but he's perfectly content by camping in the back of the map in ground war, going 4-1, and he's saying he's going to get, like, oh, I'm going to snag up a 4 or 5 KD soon. But this is how he's playing. This is how he enjoys playing Modern Warfare. And that's what this game was made for. This game was designed for players to play like this. It was designed for the players who don't want to move, who don't want to learn, who don't want to better themselves as a Call of Duty player. This game was designed for those players to be able to take their time and enjoy the game. And a lot of the time, they don't take their time, which is the point I'm trying to make here. You can't protect the noobs. No matter what you do, it just can't be done. And Infinity Ward went ahead and they completely handcrafted this game for bad skilled players. Everything is made around it. It's been multiple interviews with the Infinity Ward devs where they clearly stated that they made a lot of the design choices and a lot of the gun choices and everything revolved around new players. And when asked about the veteran players, if this game will benefit them, it was hard for them to respond. They couldn't get a real answer out. This game was designed for bad players, with the hope that they would get better, and they will improve as they play slower and try to learn the game, but of course it completely backfires. Instead of focusing on the veteran audience, the people who have been here from day one and making design choices around us, they made design choices around the noobs. So now we have a game that is insanely noob friendly. People can camp in corners all game long with 0 consequences. The players who are happy getting 2 kills and 0 deaths in the game can now thrive. You know, and back in Black Ops 4, even though the maps were so claustrophobic and it was so fast and you had no time to think, at least when someone was camping like that, they would still get 10 plus deaths. But in Modern Warfare, these campers, they don't die. They can stay alive a whole match by camping in one position, and they are satisfied doing it. They don't have any urge to move from those spots. But let's say the developers did not make this game for the noobs. Let's say the developers went ahead and handcrafted this game for the more veteran crowd of the Call of Duty community. Even with that being implemented, things like skill-based matchmaking or a ranking system like Rainbow Six Siege has would still be implemented into the game. So no matter what, devs are constantly thinking of the new players. They constantly want to protect these players from the wrath of the more skilled players in the player base. How are you supposed to learn playing any of these games when the devs are catering all these new players like this? Now, if you play a sport, whether it's basketball, soccer, football, whatever it is, you look up to the better players. You see how they play, and you also get whooped a bunch of times as well. Through this course of time, you learn new techniques, you watch how the other players play. Like I said, it improves your skill playing with better players. But when you're being babied and they're holding you back, you're not going to learn anything. You're going to be stuck with the same techniques because you're versing these same type of players. How can I learn anything better when the same players are doing the same thing that I'm doing? You don't learn. You don't improve. And when skill-based matchmaking hits that heavy, when skill-based matchmaking really separates the community between the better players versing better players all the time and the new players versing new players all the time, then you start to see players, some of the better players, who are getting tired of all the sweaty competition. There's a lot of players, like from the older Call of Duty titles, Go back to Black Ops 1, World at War, COD 4. I'd take any of those games with their skill-based matchmaking over this one. Because at least every once in a while, things were scattered up. It didn't feel like you're in a complete sweat fest. My favorite games are the games where there are like some new players who are just running around blindlessly, who don't even know what they're doing, whatever, that you can just melt down really quickly. But then always having those experienced players, because then in the match you start to get this type of rivalry where you're always trying to find that player. You notice his player skin, so you know what he looks like. Every time you go up against him, you get that intense feeling. Sometimes you even might want to party up with these players and gain new friends. That's why I did all of Black Ops 4. Like I said, all my friends are on console. Black Ops 4 wasn't cross-play, so I can play with any of them. So I would go play solo, get into matches where I like the exact playstyle I just said. There's some noobs and there's some really experienced players. So it's a nice mix of entertainment. It's always something new and different around every single corner. I would see these great players. We would hit each other up, and then we become friends, and then we go party up, and we continue the cycle. Finding and meeting new players, but at the same time, not getting annoyed with each other, not hating each other, because you can't get those bonds in Modern Warfare. Modern Warfare, I'm always versing people of my similar skill. There's no noob players to completely dominate out of the lobbies, or no new players that are at least semi-decent, but still bad. It's always like a complete sweat fest. And when it's a complete sweat fest, everybody hates each other. Nobody likes each other. That's when all the name calling starts happening. That's when all the raging starts happening. That's when all the toxic behavior begins to come into play. When everybody has to verse their identical self, it gets kind of annoying. But when this does happen, players don't want to verse that anymore. Players get tired of those mirror image lobbies. And there's very easy ways around it. And these players will abuse those easy ways. Reverse boosting is probably the easiest technique you could possibly do in any type of video game to get noob lobbies. Besides Battlefield. Because Battlefield is like the only game with server browsers, so you can actually just, search for your own lobbies, and in these lobbies are just random people because they're all doing the same thing. They're all just searching for their own game. I love that. I don't know why Call of Duty took the server browser out of the game after Call of Duty 4. I don't remember World at War, but I know definitely in Call of Duty 4 they had it. Best feature to ever be implemented because it's always a random lobby. There is no matchmaking like in these current games where they do the matchmaking for you. Very obnoxious, but still, players will abuse these systems. They will reverse boost. They will completely crush their stats, knowing that in return, they will be granted the holy grail of lobbies. Now, yes, it is a cheesy technique, because at that point, you're versing a bunch of bots. And there is no competition in the lobby. There is nobody else that's going to be more skilled. It's literally just you dominating a bunch of players because you went 0-50 5 games straight, and now you just have this god tier lobby. So yes, it's very cheesy, it's very unfair, and it's not fun for the other players who are in that lobby because they aren't skilled enough to be put into a match that could potentially be mixed with players of their skill and very good players as well. They're still trying to learn the game, and now you have this guy who just completely botted their way into their lobby, destroying them. But this wouldn't happen. This would not be an issue if the devs would stop trying to protect the noobs. If they just made skill-based matchmaking normal to where it just puts you in the best lobby you could possibly find that does not have to focus on your stats. Now, yes, of course, it will have to focus on your stats just a little bit. Unless they bring server browsers back in, they're going to have some type of skill-based matchmaking. But they need to tone it down. It's way too high right now. The first game I ever sold was Advanced Warfare, and I think the main reason I didn't like that game and I couldn't get used to it was because it was one of the sweatiest CODs I've ever played. Now we're at Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I've definitely improved as a player, so going into these sweaty lobbies doesn't annoy me as much to the point that I'll, sell the game. But it's still very, 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 very obnoxious. Nobody wants this playstyle. That's why no game does this playstyle unless it's super competitive. I always bring up Rainbow Six Siege, but Rainbow Six Siege is super competitive. If you get into that game, you notice that the majority of the more skilled players, they don't like to pub stomp. Going into casual is not fun. It's not entertaining, and the majority of the more skilled players in Rainbow Six Siege are happy. Their ranked is their casual. Ranked. Keep that in mind. Ranked is their casual. So going up against other extremely skilled players who are similar to their skill level is their type of casual. Because it's a competitive game. People like having some competition. Overwatch. Same deal. People like the competition. It's a very competitive game. Very objective based. People like that type of style of skill-based matchmaking. But this is Call of Duty. I can't even put on music to just relax just a little bit sometimes when I like to play video games. Because it's so, you have to sound whore 24/7. If you do not have a headset in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, you are definitely at the most massive disadvantage that you will ever come past. You need headphones in this game. It's just sweaty. And Call of Duty is supposed to be casual. That's what made Call of Duty stand out from all these other games. Like I already explained, what's better than getting into a lobby where like 2 to 3 players are worse than you, but then the other 2 are much better than you? What's more fun than that? That's like the perfect type of lobby because you're never getting completely stomped and you're never completely being a god. Unless you truly are a good player. If you are a good player, when you finally understand all the techniques of the game, when you finally understand how to play that game like a pure god, then yes, you will dominate lobbies. But if you're just an average player, you'll have a good time. You can still have those really saucy games. 20, 30 plus kills, hands down. And it won't be boring because you have a mix of skill levels in your lobby. You have a mix of different type of players playing your game. Not every single game is a MLG match. And it feels nice. So at the end of the day, there's absolutely no way you could protect the noobs. People will hound down the noobs like there's no tomorrow. People like those type of lobbies. So there's no point in breaking your game over trying to help out these new players. Let them learn. How will they ever learn if you keep protecting them the way that you're doing? They're not going to learn anything. They're just versing mirror images of themselves. How are they going to learn? By versing the same thing that they're doing all the time. Nobody's using any different techniques. Nobody's using any different weapons. Nobody's showing off any different spots or styles. Nobody's doing anything but what you're doing. So how will you learn anything different if you're just seeing the same thing that you do every single game? You need a player with higher skill to show you different techniques. And you have to be willing to accept your deaths and learn those techniques that that player's using. But in Modern Warfare, more than half the time, I don't want to accept my deaths because a lot of them are just from some corner camper. And in other Call of Duty games, in any video game in general, people like that are called noobs. So I'm not going to dumb down my style to the style of a noob just to be better at your broken game. I want to see someone do something else. Camping isn't all bad. You can get good advantages. You can get good, positions where you can gun down enemies perfectly without having to go anywhere. But when I die, these people aren't in positions like that. They're in the weirdest spots that you would never think someone would be holding down. You can't gun any spawns down. You can't hold any objectives. You can't have any line of sight to be. They're literally just in some off the map corner that's dark as hell or has a massive bush doing nothing. I'm not learning anything from that. I'm not learning how to become a better player in Call of Duty Modern Warfare by dying to that specific player. It's just obnoxious. So at the end of the day, no. I don't personally think that they should, or when I say they, I mean the devs, should intentionally fix their game around noobs. It's just messed up. At the end of the day, I think all lobbies should just be equal. Everybody should be mixed around into their own lobbies. Sometimes you will get lobbies against full sweats, and sometimes you will get lobbies against full noobs. But the skill-based matchmaking will be decent enough to where it should be able to even out both sides. But in Modern Warfare, the skill-based matchmaking is broken. Completely broken. But thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Once again, I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Hope you all enjoy your day. Also, make sure you go ahead and leave a comment on what you think about this topic. Do you think noobs should be protected by the devs? Or do you think that everybody should have an equal advantage with versing one another? But if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you leave a like. If you hate it, you could always dislike. If you're new to the channel and you enjoyed the commentary or even the gameplay, make sure you go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell notification button. Also, if you just want to chat with me or see some behind-the-scenes clips, you can follow me over on Twitter. And also, if you just want to see me live stream some games every once in a while, that's over on Twitch, at JbowenDaMan. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.
Want to enter restaurant?